My friend, all you have to do is spend any appreciable amount of time on the internets, as it were, and you will find out, especially if you look at all of the trending information, that Candace Owens is there every single day, all day long, all the time. She is the this is the quantum mechanics of the Niels Bohr, the most wild, crazy theory that's changing the face of physics and reality. I mean, I'm trying to think of something along the line. She's like the Beatles. She's something that other people are trying to do, seemingly doing what she's doing, but nobody is having the effect she's having. Nobody. Remember, throughout history, somebody came along and challenged something. When Einstein, I don't want to sound heady or compare her to Einstein, but when Einstein decided to contest and to challenge the whole notion of Newtonian mechanics, and then quantum mechanics came along, and Niels Bohr and others, and said that Einstein was wrong, and then the Beatles came along and said, you can't do this, and everything kind of builds on something. But every now and then there are these moments, and right now it's her moment. But I want very, very much for you to understand something. It is not about Candace Owens. It is about what she represents, what she is saying, and why she is critical now. Now. And why we need more of her, and why we need to inspire more of her. Because whenever you say something that challenges or causes people to be fearful, they resist. For example, I have been advocating preparing yourself with either emergency food or generators or water in the event stores close for a week. You would have thought this is nuts that I was ready for Creedmoor or Bellevue because I dared to say, you might want to. I was called a prepper. I'm used to it. When I tell people, if you don't want to have any kind of food, okay, do you have any kind of a device, any kind of a prepared, they call it a bug out bag, or do you have something you can grab and run that has everything in there now ready to go that you would have never thought of? No, they say. Where would I get that? Listen to our sponsor. Listen and find out why. And you tell me if this is crazy. When disaster hits, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall back on what you already prepared. Wildfires, floods, hurricanes, tornadoes, blackouts, EMP and grid attacks, riots, disaster. Get it? And when the warning comes, there's no time to search for flashlights or bottled water or first aid supplies while your family waits at the door. That's why My Patriot Supply created the fully stocked bug out bag. You've got to get this. It's a rugged, grab-and-go tactical backpack packed with 60 emergency essentials, including food, water, shelter, fire, starting tools, lighting, first aid, and more. Everything is already packed and ready right out of the box. Keep one in your car, your home, your RV, your office, your cabin, because the emergencies never make appointments. And right now, you can get $100 off plus free shipping for a limited time. So act now. There will be no special invitation in life. Disaster always comes unannounced. Get prepared now. Go to preparewithlionel.com. That's preparewithlionel.com and click the link today. Can't believe I can't believe how many things just never seem to change. Never seem to change. I was red pilled. My moment, my birthday, so to speak, was 9/11, September the 11th, 2001. And that's when I learned flat out. And I was thinking about this. I think Candace was, 12 at the time? And she probably was doing what 12-year-olds did, not knowing then if I could have been a voice from the future and come to her and said, "You're only 12 now, but there is existing something that is going on, something so evident, so horrible, so terrible in front of everyone. And people like me, like your forebears, like Alex Jones, and a host of others, are called truthers because we, get this, want to know the truth. This was 25 years ago. Think about this. Like it was yesterday. This is when I was told people don't want to hear the truth. And I still don't know why. So maybe I'm a little bit sensitive. Maybe I kind of relate to what Candace is doing, but she's doing it with a self-assuredness, with an aplomb, with a style, a grace that many of us could only hope for. And that's why I want to speak plainly and clearly with you about why I support not Candace Owens, but why she is so critical as she goes and sticks her thumb in the eye of the shadow government. Not the deep state, not the permanent state, the uniparty, the shadow government. The people, the group, the groups behind the wall, behind the Potemkin village, behind the set, the ones who control the lights and the action, people from other countries, people whose names you would not know. Remember, if you hear a name and somebody says, have you ever heard of this guy? That's not the person. There are people who are in the first tier, the first level of influence, but they're not the ones I'm talking about. We're talking about something that is so entrenched and so almost organic. Sometimes organizational and institutional movements don't really have names, but I don't want to clog this up. I support Candace Owens and her ilk. Probably didn't know she had an ilk. But more importantly, why I support what she's trying to do. This is not about personalities. This is not about celebrity. This is not about pretending or posing as anyone is perfect or beyond criticism. We're not saying that. It is about a very simple proposition. In a free society, people should, now listen to this, listen how crazy this is. People should be allowed to ask difficult questions about anything. Do you hear me? Anything. They should be allowed to challenge prevailing narratives and myth and supposed story. Remember what Tolstoy said. History would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. How many times do we keep saying the things that happen? It never happened. We just keep saying them. You should be able to pursue stories and ideas and issues that others would prefer you not talk about. Whether you agree with Candace or not on every issue doesn't really matter. It's beside the point. The real issue is whether we still, as a country, as a society, as a people, value intellectual curiosity, and whether we believe that controversial issues should be answered and asked with evidence instead of outrage, this performance outrage. How dare you? Don't you understand? How dare she discuss what you say that Tyler Robinson didn't commit the murder by himself? Yeah. What's your problem? I don't know. When did you accept the narrative? I don't know. Why are you holding so firm to him as the suspect? I don't know. But I'm trained. I can't believe her. And this exploding mic thing. I mentioned this the other day. In 75? Was it Frank Church? They came up with a heart attack gun. The heart attack gun. An exploding mic is ridiculous. Israel had exploding beepers. I know what you're saying. Who the hell uses a beeper? But the point is, it's like, do you? And I know what you're thinking. I just use it as an example. Do you know that? Who was it? Was that the KGB officer who stabbed a guy with the tip of a umbrella, a bumbershoot, a brolly, one of those little piercing injectables? Some agent or some Bulgarian, whatever it was. I don't remember the fact, but I do remember it happens. Remember that one? You remember that? This has been going on. You don't need to just watch James Bond. What do you think is the inspiration for James Bond? Reality. And that, again, is why I support her and I support her work. And some people seem, by the way, genuinely threatened by her. I mean, I really do. I think they are. I think I understand why. She's not content to repeat conventional wisdom. She would never be on Fox News because on Fox News, you have to just repeat, not report. You are handed a script, you are handed the bumper sticker, commit to memory, and just say it. Say it with a conviction and with a passion that nobody has ever seen, and don't ask any questions. Candace does not wait for permission. She asks questions that cut right across politics and media, foreign policy, religions, culture, you name it. And she challenges institutions of every kind that many people assume are, well, sacred cows and beyond criticism. Well, that's not true. And she revisits and rehits and reacquaints herself and relitigates, if you will, stories and issues that others have declared settled. And that makes people uncomfortable. But discomfort is not oppression. Discomfort is not danger. Discomfort is often the beginning of serious thought and advancement. And we have somehow reached a moment where, again, asking questions, we're back to that again, is treating something as a greater offense rather than refusing to answer them. And I reject that whole cloth. The answer to speech is more speech. The answer to a claim is evidence. And the answer to a question is not censorship or ridicule or opprobrium or defamation. It's clarity, pellucidity, limpidity. And that is especially true when the stakes are high and the public trust is involved. Candace Owens has raised questions about the circumstances surrounding her great friend and I want to say my friend. I never met him, but I consider him a friend. The issues surrounding Charlie Kirk and the aftermath that follows. She's asking questions, and I'm not here to declare facts that have not been established. I'm not here to accuse anyone of crimes. Remember what I'm always saying: proof, evidence. I'm a prosecutor by my training. I'm a former prosecutor. I'm a trial lawyer. I like facts. I like evidence. I can have suspicions. I can be prima facie. I can be probable cause, but I've got to be reasonable doubt when it means that we got to convict somebody of something. All I'm saying is that when questions exist, people are entitled to ask them. It's simple, isn't it? And if there are misunderstandings, clarify them. If there are inconsistencies, explain them. If evidence exists, then present it. And if it doesn't, say so. That's how confidence in institutions theoretically is built. And by the way, transparency doesn't weaken truth. It strengthens it, remember? And by the way, the instinct to shut down discussion or dismiss people as cranks or lunatics or conspiracy theorists or tinfoil hatters or troublemakers, that's just not persuasive. And this nonsense about stop it. Eric is a widow. Stop it. Jackie Kennedy was a widow. Ethel Kennedy was a widow. Coretta Scott King was a widow. Courtney Love was a widow. Mary Todd Lincoln was a widow. My God. In fact, one could argue that Diddy is a widower. I mean, this is crazy. Yoko Ono, this is ridiculous. Mary Todd Lincoln, who was certifiably, crazy, perhaps by syphilis, but I don't want to get into that right now. She was assailed after her husband, Abe Lincoln, because she was spending too much. Look. Stop it. And don't give me that we all grieve in a different way. Stop that too. Once a meme gets going, man, it's hard to break. But all of this is revealing. All of this suggests fear of scrutiny, fear of questioning, rather than rather than a confidence or a coincident fact. And if a claim is wrong, then show it, demonstrate it. Tell me why it's wrong. If a theory is mistaken, hypothesis, refute it with evidence. But do not tell people they are forbidden from asking, and do not attack Candace or use this thing that Larry Loomer's doing. I mean, she takes it's like this jujitsu ad hominem. I mean, my God, going after kids, and this is not how a confident society behaves. It is not how science works, and it's not how journalism works, and it sure as hell is not how democracy works. I support unequivocally Candace Owens because she is willing to discuss American foreign policy. And by the way, anybody who does that, anybody. And I may not even agree with either the premise of somebody or what they come up with, but the idea that they're questioning it, 100%. I'm with them 100%. Ask away. And she questions this in a way that many commentators are not. For decades, Americans have been told, they have been told repeatedly that certain assumptions are beyond debate. We are told that wars are necessary, they have to be done, that interventions are inevitable, that we can't let certain countries get a nuclear bomb or nuclear bomb because, well, you know, and sure we'll kill children by the score. We'll pile their little dead bodies up like cords of wood. But be not mistaken, there's a bigger issue here. We must stop these issues, these heathens, these Visigoths, these terrorists, and you cannot ask any questions. Well, that questioning of long-standing strategies is, or rather not questioning, is irresponsible. It's dangerous. And citizens, as you know, this is axiomatic, but citizens have every right to ask fundamental questions about anything. I keep saying anything. What are our goals? Are they achievable? What are the costs? Who bears the cost? Are we creating something worse? Do we have a vacuum of leadership? And who replaces this bad guy? And how many lives are altered or destroyed by decisions made thousands of miles away? These are not radical questions. These are moral questions. These are moral questions. These are very, very, very simple things that I very simply have to ask. These are questions that responsible people should ask. Candace Owens asks them repeatedly. She asks whether American policy always serves American interests. She asks whether the whether the humanitarian consequences of war, humanitarian consequences, is that oxymoronic? Of war, rather, whether they receive enough attention. And she asks whether there are alternatives to endless conflict. You know, you may agree with her answers or not. It doesn't really matter. But the questions themselves are critical, and they're legitimate, and they're necessary. Too often, my friends, too often public discourse treats civilian suffering as an abstraction, and we use phrases like collateral damage, you know, as though they erase or somehow expurgate human tragedy. They don't. Every war leaves scars. Every war, every conflict creates victims, and every time, every strategic calculation eventually becomes personal for someone, and we lose our humanity in this. And we lose our God or gods must be asking, what are you doing? A family loses a home, a parent loses a child, a generation inherits trauma. And we should never, ever, ever become so accustomed to or so acclimated that we stop counting the cost. We should never become so partisan that compassion becomes selective. The last time I checked, human suffering is not a talking point, it's real. And if somebody reminds us of that reality, I believe they are performing a public service. Another aspect of Candace that I respect is her faith. You do not have to share her actual religious beliefs to appreciate that they appear to be sincerely held. Faith, for many people, is not a branding exercise. It's not merely wearing a medal or a crucifix or any kind of symbol denoting any kind of semiotics or symbology or a lapel pin. It is a moral framework. It shapes how they understand duty and the world and truth and sacrifice and conscience, and it influences the questions that they ask and the principles that they defend. And I think we have become too cynical about faith in public life. Absolutely 100%. We assume that everyone has ulterior motives. We assume every conviction is a performance. Perhaps sometimes it is, maybe it is, but not always. Sometimes people ask because they genuinely believe they have an obligation to do so. And sometimes, by the way, sometimes they are willing to endure criticism because they think that remaining silent would be easier but wrong. And I respect that. I do. Even when I disagree. But what troubles me most, above all, is how quickly public debate turns personal. Instead of addressing arguments, these people attack motives. And instead of us examining evidence, which is what we should do, we mock personality, and the way they look, and the way they act, and their family, and did they have a drinking problem? And what does that have to do with anything? Are they divorced? Are they ugly? What? Instead of persuading the shame, and I don't think that's very healthy. I do not think it makes anyone smarter, and I do not think it produces truth. If you believe Candace is wrong, tell her why. Present your evidence. Challenge her reasoning. Show her. Point out contradictions, inconsistencies. Show her. That's fair game. That makes sense. That's what public debate is about. That's what it's supposed to look like. But trying to delegitimize somebody simply because they ask hard, inconvenient, embarrassing questions, that's a dangerous habit. Today is Candace Owens. Tomorrow it will be somebody else. Tomorrow it could be you. Eventually, it could be anyone who steps outside the approved parameters of the opinion. And I refuse to support that culture. Supporting Candace Owens does not mean agreeing with every statement she has ever made or liking her or agreeing with her politically. It does not mean suspending critical thinking. It does not mean blind loyalty. Support can simply mean valuing the role that she plays in the public conversation. That's simple. And it can also, by the way, mean appreciating her willingness and her election to investigate unpopular topics. And it can mean defending her right to speak, to question and challenge institutions, and basically to say, and sacred cows, and oh my God. That's enough. That's enough. That's all we need to do. In fact, that is more than enough. I want a culture where ideas compete openly. I want a society where citizens are encouraged to ask questions instead of becoming punished or chided for curiosity. I want debates. I want debates grounded in evidence rather than emotion, and screaming and accountability rather than intimidation. And I want public figures who accept the responsibility of doing this, and also who know that disagreement does not equal hatred, and criticism does not require distraction and destruction. And those principles matter more to me than any one person. They matter because they determine the kind of country that we become. So yes, absolutely. I support Candace Owens. Absolutely. I support her right to ask questions. I support her willingness to challenge consensus. And I sure as hell support her interest in foreign policy, and especially humanitarian concerns and public accountability. And if that's wrong, I'm wrong. What are you going to do? Sorry, I'm not going to change. And most of all, my friend, I support the principle, applies to everybody, that free people should be able to pursue truth without fear of ridicule or cancellation. Disagree with her, that's fine. But that doesn't mean that we stop thinking critically. It means that we think more critically. It means we examine claims carefully. It means we resist the temptation to outsource our opinions to institutions and to influencers or mob, some ochlocracy. Truth has never been served by silence, and it has never been strengthened by intimidation. It has never been protected or advanced by refusing to ask questions. My message to you is simple. Listen carefully. Think independently. Demand evidence. Stay curious. Ask anything you want. Remain skeptical of certainty. Remain skeptical of the crowd. If everybody's saying one thing and you agree with them, something's wrong with that. And be wary of outrage that masquerades as wisdom. And support people because of the questions they raise and the principles they defend, not because they belong to your tribe or your group or your party. And in the end, this is not really about Candace Owens. I'm sorry, it's not. It's about whether we still believe in open inquiry and honest debate and truth and the courage and the intrepidity to pursue truth, whatever it leads to. I do. I hope you do as well. It's that simple. I know sometimes what I say seems axiomatic, and I understand that. That's the way it goes. But it's a very, very important thing. It's a very, very important thing. Thank you for watching, my friends. Please please do me a favor. Please like this video. Please subscribe to our channel. Make sure, if you already are subscribed, to check it again, because we're finding out that people are unsubscribed. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what the story of this is. But it's really, really critical that we do so. And I thank you for this. I thank you. And now I've put together some questions for you in the comment section, which I hope you trust. And I ask you right now, after having reviewed the following, the aforementioned, the foregoing averments and reasons, I ask you to comment as you see fit.